Alright, hello, I am with Lana Moore, and she is on the board of directors of GLAAD, and you are also a firefighter for the Columbus Fire Department, if I'm not mistaken, in Ohio, correct?
Yes, the Columbus Division of Fire.
Very good. You're a captain there, correct?
Yes, I am.
So, Lana, you've been through a lot. You've really had to go through a lot in the past couple years. Um, why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey and tell people at home about.
Well, I am a third generation firefighter, following in my father's footsteps. I started in 1981, and so that's over 3 decades now. I've been a captain since the year 2000, and 6 years ago, 6 or 7 now, in 2008, I came out to my crew and everyone else in my life as trans, and transitioned from male to female. I thought that I had the one job that would make it impossible to transition on the job. Lucky for me, I had some friends who had transitioned ahead of me, and they encouraged me and eventually convinced me that I could stay on the job. And it wasn't easy. Coming out to my crew was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But I knew I had to do it. So I did it, and they were shocked. I went on light duty for several months, and that was my choice and agreed upon. We just thought while I was going through transition and various medical procedures that I would have to be on light duty anyway, so as not to disrupt the firehouse during that time. I went to a desk job, and when I was ready, I came back to the firehouse, and I think the guys were a little skeptical, but after only a few hours, by about lunchtime, the reality of who I was apparent to them, and also a lot of I don't know what to call it, like the boogeyman, the false notions or fears that they had in their mind, they could see was not reality. Reality was I was still their captain. I was still there to be their captain and to fight fires, to respond to medical emergencies, and to complete our mission. And I didn't show up, with a big wig and pink boa, or whatever else they may have been wondering about. So it's when you transition, I tell people you literally become Humpty Dumpty. You fall off the wall, you break into a million pieces, and you kind of have to reinvent yourself. You have to discover who you are, and you have to renegotiate every single relationship in your life. Whether it's a next door neighbor, whether it's a friend, a coworker, a family member, every single person in your life, you sort of have to renegotiate your relationship, and they have to.
You and I have been talking about a lot of serious subject matters and the very difficult subject matters to discuss, only because there's many viewpoints on it, not necessarily being controversial, but it being controversial as itself is hard to discuss, but it's also it's also within your community. I notice that in the trans community, there's so many different. Um, so it's like it's a subculture within a subculture within a way of life. So it's kind of a multifaceted group with numerous viewpoints. And you and I were talking about this yesterday. It was in regards to just trying to understand different forms of or different types of people who are trans. Like you had mentioned cisgender and like 15 other types of genders that I've never heard of, but they all have their own thing. And you had mentioned something, and I would like to elaborate on that. It's you had mentioned that you don't understand it, but necessarily, but you figure that if they want to understand you, then you have to be adaptable to them. I really would like to discuss that philosophy, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, first of all, you mentioned cisgender, and I just want to point out that that basically means not transgender, and that's CIS, cisgender. And anyhow, so that's what that is. But transgender is a very, very broad term, and sometimes that can be frustrating because I think at times that word gets used as a very specific descriptor, at least in some people's minds. So communication sometimes isn't as effective as it could be. Transgender is very broad, and it has a few different definitions. One definition of transgender is that your internal sense of gender is different from what you were assigned at birth, or your presentation of your gender is different than what is normally expected, vis-a-vis the gender you were assigned at birth. Whatever the doctor looks at your genitals and says it's a boy or it's a girl, and that's a very binary situation. And our society is set up, in a strict binary way in regards to gender. And I think, it's so broad, and there's really no way to draw any lines, defining what's transgender and what's not. Almost to the point, I was talking with a friend recently, almost to the point where almost everybody's transgender. Because I believe every human being, has some level of masculinity and femininity within them. With rare exceptions, I believe that to be true. And so you can almost say everyone's trans. So it almost doesn't mean very much, the word trans. And so, as we talk about the LGBT community, it used to, sometimes we say LGBTQIAAI, and I've noticed recently people have kind of backed away from the long alphabetic term and just shortened it to LGBT. It's kind of like, the LGB or about sexual orientation, and then everything else is kind of falling within the T. And that's not a bad thing. I kind of see moving forward, though, the whole movement as basically being a gender freedom movement. Just free to express our gender however we want, without societal restrictions. It's a human thing, and it's not strictly binary. And so there are a lot of people who are identifying as non-binary, meaning that they're either somewhere in the middle, or in between, or they're gender fluid, where their gender is not a static thing. It's very dynamic for some people. Some people consider themselves two-spirit or bi-gender, so they have a strong sense of both genders within them. And some people don't think they associate with either gender. So, human beings are fascinating creatures, and I just think the neat thing that's happening these days is the freedom. This country is supposed to be based on freedom. I was raised waving the flag, and I think, we are not free. We are not free to define who we are and express who we are however we want, especially when it doesn't hurt any other people. So the freedom and the rights that transgender people are fighting for and gaining it really benefits everybody. I often say none of us are free until all of us are free. And the very basic freedom of expression and self-determination of who you are is, I don't think you can get any more basic than that.
Well, I'm going to throw another term to you, and you are part of this term. This is why I'm mentioning it. It's a very famous quote by a very good friend of mine. Goes by the name of Stan Lee, who's going to be on the show later today. And he says, with great power comes great responsibility. And right now, you are now in a position where you have a lot of power. And I commend you for that. And you're handling like subject matters that we're talking about the right way with an open mind, which is very unfortunately in not just in your genre or whatever you would say, but in life in general. It's hard to find somebody who can view something, a subject matter, by all three angles. That doesn't really happen much. Hard to find that.
Well, I think it's important. A very important thing for people to think about is you don't have to understand somebody to show them kindness and show them respect as a fellow human being. So, sometimes we may not understand someone, maybe they come from a different culture, a different part of the country, a different race, whatever it is, or they express their gender in a different way than what we're used to or how we do ourselves. We may not understand it, but that doesn't mean we can't be kind and respect them. And once I learned that myself, it made life a lot easier for me, and it made me a better person.
Well, and there's some other topics here that I want to mention in a bit, but there's a couple of individuals that I'd love for you to mention. Like right now, during your movement, there really needs to be heroes right now. Heroes are very much needed, and I'm not trying to deter one of them, but I just from what I've seen with what Caitlyn Jenner's done, feels that she doesn't really represent the trans community because she's not basing her conclusions or any of her feelings on what everyone else is thinking. It's really what she's thinking. And as a captain and as a firefighter, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and you work together.
Right. Well, in the case of Caitlyn Jenner, she's an outlier as far as, not very many people have that kind of money and wealth and fame and have reality TV shows. So, we're all kind of seeing where trans people come. We're not a monolithic thing. We're just human beings, and we come in all shapes and sizes from all walks of life. And what we're seeing with Caitlyn Jenner is the example of what it looks like when a very wealthy, elderly, extremely famous person transitions. And like I said earlier, you're like Humpty Dumpty, and your life can be scattered all over the place as you kind of redefine yourself. You transition, especially the more binary transition from male to female. And she's a work in progress, like we all are. And so there's good things. She's shed a lot of light on the trans issues. She's got a lot of people talking about it. That's not a bad thing. For her personally, I know, for me, it's kind of uncomfortable to watch her because it reminds me of those times early on for me and what it was like and all the things that I didn't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know them. As I transitioned, I was fascinated because I kept reaching these plateaus of understanding that I didn't even know were there until I got there. And I'm like, wow, I'm seeing the world in a different light. I see transition in a different light. I see LGBT issues, social issues in a different light. And I thought I had reached a pinnacle. The next thing I know, I reached a higher plateau. And so on and so on. And now, I'm 6 or 7 years into it. I still, am trying to be very, very careful that I, use the microphone, like you said, when you have great power, great responsibility. And I try very hard to make sure that when I speak to these issues, I speak in a way that benefits everyone and not just myself and not just from my own perspective. And that takes empathy and learning about other people and checking our privilege. I am a very privileged person myself. Now, not as much as Caitlyn Jenner. I don't have millions of dollars. I don't have, I have about 300 Twitter followers. And that's after being on Twitter for a couple of years. Caitlyn Jenner had over 1 million, I think, the first day. So it's an incredible responsibility that I don't know if she fully understands that yet. I do know that she has some of the most incredible trans people in her circle giving her advice, and that's a good thing as well. But across the United States and the world, trans people are subject to tremendous discrimination and violence. And that's something that, reality TV star probably wouldn't know very much about.
No, we won't. And actually, if you don't mind, I'd actually would like to move to a different topic, which is more of it's more of a spotlight topic. I really would love for you to. You and I always talk about these wonderful people in the community, like Caroline Cossey, very nice, wonderful person, um, pioneer, done some great things. Uh, Dinah Rose, people like this. If you could, please, if you could, highlight some of these individuals right now that are huge, huge pillars in the community and are actually making a difference.
You mentioned Caroline Cossey, and some people will know her as Tula. A very wonderful person who I'm just now getting to know. She's kind of reemerged, at least in social media recently, and very classy, extremely beautiful woman. She, for a long time, for many of us, back in the 70s and 80s, was one of the most widely known trans people across the board, even, outside of the trans community, very well known. um, she went through a lot of negative press, and a lot of it, I think, was press and media. Not even maybe they didn't know better, but they treated her in ways that today is kind of bad form, and that's one of the things that GLAAD helps with LGBT people in the media. We have guidelines, media guidelines, and we help news organizations, magazines, television, all forms of media, especially if they want to do it correctly and present LGBT people and trans people fairly and accurately. They can come to GLAAD and get that information on media style guidelines, for those kinds of things. But if you look at Caroline's career and some of the things that happened, she's a good example of why that was needed, because she didn't deserve some of the treatment she got. Donna Rose was an inspiration for so many trans people. She wrote her book, Wrapped in Blue. I think it came out in the late 1990s when she transitioned. And I found her book and found her webpage at a point where I had already decided I needed to transition. But reading stuff that she wrote in her book really helped solidify my confidence that yes, this is something I could actually do. And I've since gotten to know Donna, consider her a very good friend. There have been times in my life where I used to say, WWDD, what would Donna do? I think she's a good leader who leads by example, a very, very good principled person. And I can honestly say that knowing her has made me a better person.
When I've noticed with, and I've never met Donna. I've spoken to Caroline, of course, and just watching Donna, she just conducted both of them. They have this both. They have this two things, these aspects of themselves where they're more. It's like they're Miss America. Like they're just kind of very graceful. I just noticed that with the two of them. They're very, very professional. They never say anything negative, or if they say something negative, it's based on factual evidence and it's really a critique. Like they handle things so much differently. They're very, very calm and very just. It's just something.
Well, yeah, I think they're both very intelligent and they're decent human beings. They're very, very kind. And I think, like what we were saying earlier, they recognize that when you have a microphone and when people are watching, you have a responsibility to lead by positive example. They're both very good at that.
Yeah.
And it's their nature. They're very intelligent, kind people. And that's how intelligent, kind people behave.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more quick question, and it's a combination of two actually, but it kind of it's an issue that's happening right now in regards to. So if people aren't aware, some people aren't really aware of what's happening with the whole trans movement, with just a simple thing like bathrooms. I guess individuals are being persecuted for going to the supposedly wrong bathroom in the eyes of certain states, and I guess those states are trying to support it so that they actually turn people in that are going to the quote unquote wrong restroom. You and I spoke about this just briefly, but what has to happen so that there's understanding not necessarily both parties, but just understanding universally with that. I mean,
Well,
that is a human rights. They're kind of violating your rights.
it is. It's a lot of, the bathroom has become the battleground for trans issues and those that oppose trans people. Um, we were talking the other day about in California there was some conservative lawmakers that were trying to put forth some anti-trans legislation, which I just read this morning did not make it onto the ballot, but and that's a good thing. But it actually put a bounty on trans people's heads, where if you spotted a trans person in the bathroom where they weren't supposedly supposed to be, you would actually get $4,000 reward.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that. If they watch people go to the bathroom, then they're breaking their own law, because I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to watch people. Yeah.
Well, it was called a privacy bill, so it did nothing. It did anything but ensure privacy. It ensured that nobody would have privacy in the bathroom, because everybody's going to be peeking at everyone else, and it's just ridiculous. And so, when you ask what needs to happen, well, again, our society is set up very binary, and the whole notion of public restroom facilities is set to a very strict binary, two restrooms, male, female. And I think what needs to happen is our society needs to, start opening their minds and realizing that all of us, trans people, cisgender people, it's not a strictly binary thing. And that's going to take time. And some people are well set in their ways, they never um, open their mind to that way of thinking. But we need to recognize that, especially for gender fluid people and people who specifically self-identify as being non-binary, that they're not gonna fit in either restroom as it stands. So, the new practice of having all gender restrooms, family restrooms, because quite frankly, I don't know that restrooms even have to be segregated along gender lines. We have private stalls. You go in, you close the door, you do your business. That's what it's there for. If somebody's going to go in there to misbehave, they're already breaking a law. Now I know women, and as a woman, being in a restroom can be a very vulnerable, put you in a very vulnerable position. So I understand why women, don't want to be in a restroom with men, but they have to recognize that a trans woman is not a man. And so I just think those are the things that need to happen.
I agree. And I think this is just another hurdle. And I was talking to Caroline yesterday, and we had a good laugh. It was in regards to a quote that she had said. It was in regards to I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but it said, "Why does it matter what's between your legs?" And it's it's right in a way, because um, there's so much emphasis, like we were talking about before, um, on what's going on between, like the bathroom issue. This shouldn't be an issue. This should not be an issue. It's either they're allowed to use the bathroom or they're not allowed to use the bathroom. If a trans woman goes and uses the men's room, then where the hell are they going to pee? Because or where are they going to go to the bathroom? Because it shouldn't be a question all the time. Why is it a question? It's like trying to explain to, like, a 5-year-old why the grass is green. Well, they're going to ask you 50 more questions. Why the grass is green? Why? It just is. It just is. And
Right. Well, yeah, I wonder what's going on in some of these people's minds when the restroom facility is there for us to facilitate basic human function. That I don't think most people want to watch anyone else when they're in there. You go in, you do your business, and you leave, and there should be no sexuality or anything, going on. And again, if there is, then somebody's
breaking the law. Yeah.
That's already there.
They contradict everything they say. They contradict everything they say when they say these things. Oh, well, make sure.
And I think, well, a lot of the root of a lot of the issues is based in fear. People fear what they don't understand often, and fear. I guess what does that mean? Where you see the chemistry beakers of fear plus ignorance, not understanding or knowing something, then it leads to hate. And when we talk about hate, I used to think of hate as being a thing where it's a very vitriolic, visceral, intense dislike of somebody. But what are the definitions I now use for hate? I mean, that what I just said is hate. But hate for me is also when you deny someone else the same human basic rights that you enjoy yourself, and you actively seek to deny others of those rights. That's hate. So, a lot of people get defensive. Oh, I don't hate trans people. Well, you are basically telling me I'm not human because I don't deserve the same rights that you enjoy. To me, that's hate. So let's just know that we're both talking about the same thing here.
So this has been a very good interview. It's given me a lot of insight on some things, and it's given, I'm sure, the people at home a lot of insight on many things that they don't even know about and they don't understand. Now, before I let you go, you work with GLAAD, and that's a wonderful thing. And I do understand that there's a fundraiser for GLAAD that you're trying to launch, or you already launched.
Oh, the peace and acceptance. Yeah. All of GLAAD board members and staff have a website and a link that I have shared, and you have kindly shared as well. And if people go to that link and click on it, they can donate any amount of money. You can donate $1, $5, $50, $500, as little as they want or as much as they want. But I would very much love to invite people to go to my link and donate something, even if it's just $1. Sometimes more than money, we need support. We need to know that you think what we're doing is a good thing, and that brings you into being a partner of GLAAD at any level. And to me, that's a very good thing because we're all about changing hearts and minds. And it's a human thing. It's a gender freedom for everybody, not just for LGBT people. Because when all of us are free, then what I often say is none of us are free until all of us are free. Be who we are, love who we love, live how we want to live.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Lana. I really appreciate the time you took, and definitely want to have you on the show again.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you for having me, and thanks for being an ally and a supporter to our community. It means a lot.
not a problem.